Hey there, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fans, this is Wesatron. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Power Rangers Megaforce Mighty Morphin Red Ranger. This is the armored Mighty Morphin Red Ranger, and you can see it's the 20-year anniversary of Power Rangers. And this is a new series that they just started. They've done like armored up stuff before, but this is the first time they've really, as far as I know, tackled this scale. This is supposed to be about 7 inches tall. And as you can see, the big thing for this thing, the big gimmick is that the armor will upgrade them in some way. So in this case, the Red Ranger from Mighty Morphin gets Tommy's armor from the Green Ranger's armor that I think he had in like 1 or 2 episodes or something. It's kind of fuzzy on that. It's been a long time since I've seen that particular episode, but yeah, I'm very excited to have this. This has been kind of showing up in certain spots, but I haven't seen it really hit mass retail yet, and I just happened to luck into one at my local TRU this weekend. So you got a nice shot of everything that comes in the box, or at least most of the parts. I'm sure there's something else down in there because I can only really see one armband here. Shot of the Ranger and the card gimmick on the side there. The back here's got the shots of the little like chibi style ones, and some shots of the action figure here, which interestingly the prototype, if you look, didn't have any mid-torso articulation, so that's kind of interesting. And if you want to check out the story here, you can just read at your leisure. Oh, the rest of it's in French. You don't need that. We don't need French in here. Just kidding. French people, don't leave. So yeah, basically the story is Zordon needs help fighting Rita Repulsa, and he tells Alpha to go get 5 teenagers with attitude, which is pretty generic. He could have just said, go get me 5 anybodies. Didn't like specify like good fighters or leaders or anything like that. Like at the beginning of the show, it's always teenagers with attitude. So that could have gone really wrong for Zordon. So I'm glad it didn't, because the show was still pretty fun. Let's get this guy out of package and see if he lives up to my memory of the show. Here's the Red Ranger out of packaging with all of his armor on, looking very Green Ranger-ish, which I think is pretty cool. Actually, it's cooler than I thought it would be to get all the gear on him. I kind of thought it would be kind of dumb, just because, I don't know, I just like the classic look of the Red Ranger, but it actually doesn't look bad once you've got it all lined up. We do get these big instructions from Bandai, as per usual. It shows you how everything fits on and everything. Just simple stuff. Weapons go in hands, things like that. There's nothing on the back, just blank paper, but nice that they included that if anybody has any trouble figuring it out. Which one thing that is very important is how you get the buckles on the arms on, the cuffs. You actually do take the entire glove off, so that was handy. I wasn't trying to force it over the wrists, because I would have just taken the hands off and not even thought about the glove. So, also included, you get the Megaforce card, and I'm not familiar with the new show yet. Usually I have to wait till anything like that comes on Netflix and then trick myself into watching it. And I'm not familiar with the Sentai it's based on, so I don't know how the cards fit into everything. I do know that the second part of Megaforce is supposed to focus on Gokaiger, but I don't really know how that's going to work, because I think they're cutting the season like way down. I don't really understand it, but anyway. This figure is really, really nice. I really do dig it. It's got a lot of cool things going on for it. Articulation is actually pretty nice. And despite their weird choice to pick another scale now, because Bandai's toyed with the 8-inch and 6-inch scale with their Thundercats figures, now they're tackling 7-inch, they still did a good job. So I paid... it was actually $20 at Toys R Us, but I did have a coupon that knocked it down to about $17, and that's about the price you'll find it at most places if you can find it. I know that this will end up being a popular figure. But for that, you do get a lot of things, as you can see. First off, these are the hands that came in packaging, and as you can see, they actually have a really, really nice sculpt on them. It's like dimples in the gloves, and they look like real cloth. The back of them are detailed with the lines and everything. Lining on the edge of the glove, like seams. Very, very nicely done. Very cool. And the other one's pretty much exactly the same, except it's got a hole in it, which is for use with the Megaforce version of the figure. I guess the hands are reused. That's where he holds his Morpher. And you don't get a Morpher with this figure, but that's not all that bad. In addition to that, you get the holding hands, which you can see on here. You get the power sword, which looks really, really nice. I didn't expect it to have as much paint on it as it does, considering it's a Bandai America product. Usually they skimp pretty bad, and you know, obviously it's still missing a lot of the details up here, but it still looks really, really nice. I mean, they got the black in there, the red, the silver. It's not just all gray or all black like the 4-inch figures. So pretty nice detail on that, and it is a little bit flexible like Lion-O's, but it's not nearly as bad. It doesn't seem to be drooping under its own weight yet. We'll see if that becomes a problem over time, but very nice. In addition to that, you also get the, I believe these were called Dragon Blasters? Is that what they were called? Blasters of some type. And this is pretty large for the hand. I mean, if you look at it, it actually has a peg here on the side that will fit into his belt. And it hangs pretty low because this is pretty big. I mean, the blasters were, you know, not small, but not this big. So it's not bad, though. I mean, the detail on it is excellent. They went really far into the sculpt. They actually threw some paint on there. I expected this to be all red. The picture on the box actually has this painted black and like the silver and highlights everywhere and stuff, but I'll take it as it is. That's pretty nice. And you know, you can always repaint it if you really choose. In addition to that, I also get the Dragon Dagger, which is cool. And the picture, again, also on the box shows a lot more paint details on this, especially the silver of the blade and the silver on the tip of the flute here. And I think gold here on the, whatever you call those parts on a flute. But very nice, you know, a little flexible there too. And he can hold it in his hands, which works. So that's very cool. And hopefully all of this, I assume it means that Atami is on the way. I do know that White Ranger is coming, but I assume with all this crap that they're definitely going to do Atami. But the last thing you get is the armor. Very nice looking. It doesn't really hinder articulation all that much, except when you try to pull the arms in close to the body, and then, you know, the straps get in the way a little bit. But very, very cool. These cuffs on the arm can only really go on one way. They're actually molded so that these pop off actually pretty easily. Molded, if you can see that, to only fit the exact shape of the arm, which is cool because when you put them on, you stick them on there, they don't slide off very easily. Like, you actually have to pop it off. So, very cool there. And the gloves just pop right back on. As you can see, this thing is popping off. The chest armor so far, I don't know if I'm missing a sweet spot on it or what, but it's not wanting to stay on very well. It's popping off pretty easily, and part of it's because the design is really strange. I do like the straps that come to the front. You know, it's accurate and it's cool and everything, but basically there's pegs up here in the top, and then this strap goes into a peg down here, but it's a very tight fit. Like, you have to line everything up perfectly, and then you kind of have to just mash it all together. As you can see, it's really easy to miss the buttons on that. So that does pop off very easily, and so that kind of stinks, but I imagine when Tommy comes out, I'll probably just glue it just to keep it on there. You can see this is a separate piece of plastic in here in the back, and these are a little bit softer, but I do imagine if you were to, you know, bend these back and forth much, that they will eventually break. They're not like a super soft plastic, they're just, you know, a little less tough than like the really rigid plastic of the shield here. So very cool though. I mean, they got the little details on there and everything, the fleur-de-lis looking thing that he's got all over the place. Very, very nice. They did a great job on the detail there. They're not gold like they are in the Protos, but you know, if you wanted to, you could paint those and they'd look great. So on to Jason, the Red Ranger himself. Very, very nice looking figure. Out of package, I actually like him even better than I did in package, and I thought he looked pretty cool in package. Now the head, of course, is a little small for the body. We can go ahead and get that out of the way now. I would say that it's probably more in line with maybe a 6-inch figure. Because you have to imagine that there's a person's head inside the helmet. So I would say probably a 6-inch figure would be about right for that. But it's 7 inches, you can see, we can back them up a little bit. It's a little pin-headed. It's not like super bad, but you know, it could be better. So, but they did do a really, really nice job on the helmet itself. I would like to have seen it be a little glossier. But you can fix that very easily just by going over it, with some red gloss and put some extra gloss finish on it. So that'd be very cool. They did paint all the individual teeth on the helmet, which is awesome. I think that's a nice little touch. The paint is overall pretty clean on the helmet, not too bad. This would be really easy to go in and make it look really outstanding, though. But yeah, very, very cool. I dig it. There are some little plastic seam lines here on the edge of the helmet, which I think is actually kind of neat because it looks like the old buckles they use to seal the helmets, which is a dumb little thing, but I think it's neat. Big muscular body, the same that they're using, as far as I can see, because I don't have the figure, but the same that they're using on the Megaforce figures. Nice, big, muscular. You see he's got these kind of peg holes here. They're like retention holes that other things plug into on the other figures. But very cool, very similar to the Bandai Thundercats figures that they made here in the U.S. Very nice. There are screw holes in the back, so if you have a problem with that, sorry. Just leave it on the shelf and somebody else will find it. Very, very nice detail work on the belt. You can see not only do they sculpt everything, they even sculpted the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the coin, but also they painted the red around the outside, the gold inside. I mean, it doesn't have like, the little details here on the side or anything like that, but I mean, that's pretty outstanding for a 7-inch figure. I mean, as far as Bandai is concerned, that's beyond outstanding. Bandai usually doesn't go in for those kinds of details, but it looks great. Very, very cool. Nice seam on the edge of the belt and everything. Very nicely done. His tramp stamp is fantastic. They did a really nice job redoing that from, Austin St. John. They have the muscle that goes over the articulation point here, so that's very cool because when you move it, it keeps that nice look. Boots are not super detailed, but they kind of do the job. You can see there's a little bit of some wrinkling down here where the ankle joint would be. Very, very cool. And on the bottom, we do not have peg holes. So, very cool looking figure. I really, really dig this. And he looks really, really nice with his power sword in hand. And as I said on the blaster, you can plug that into the belt, and it will stay very nicely. Of course, if you move the articulation out, it's going to move it around. I can understand why they didn't go with the holsters for anything, because that would just drive the cost up. But you might have seen it at the beginning when I first showed it, but this is also on a peg system, and it just pops into the other side. So, very simple, very cool. As far as articulation goes, this guy does a pretty good job. The big drawback for me, of course, is the same thing that was for the Thundercats figures, and that's that the head is basically a swivel. Like, you can almost feel like there might want to be a ball joint in there, but they didn't make enough clearance for it to work. So Bandai's really got to get on that. Got to, I mean, if it's a question of, cutting a little extra plastic out, cut out the little extra plastic. You'll save money on plastic. It's like a no-brainer. So, swivel in the head, basically. We've got a forward and back ab crunch. Let me move his arms out of the way. So we get very nice back, very nice forward. Nice motion in there. There's no tilt in that joint. That is just a hinge joint. It looks like, it's much fancier than that, but it is just a hinge. Then we've got a really, really nice ball jointed waist that goes very far forward, very far back, and very nice side-to-side action. So very similar to the Thundercats in that respect. And, with the chest and everything combined, you can get some pretty nice hunched poses, which is pretty cool, and very far back poses. Like, those are even more stellar than the front ones. So, swivel hinges in the shoulders, go all the way around and way up there. Very nice. Swivels in the biceps. Hinges that go about 90 degrees in the wrists. Of course, for the transformation thing, you've got swivels in the cuff tops. And then we've got hinge swivels in the wrists. So right at the base of the glove, you can see it's got a swivel point, and then a hinge, and then another swivel point on the other side. There's actually a ball joint in there for swapping the hands, but it doesn't really move on that ball joint or anything. So very cool. We've got swivel hinge hips, so forward about that far. Back is hindered by the design of the butt. And the hinge goes way out to the side for some great karate poses, which is awesome. So you can kind of hunch them down and get some neat things if you can get the weight distribution just right. It's very cool. As I said, the design of the muscle here covers up the thigh articulation, which has very nice rotation. We've got about 90 degrees in the hinge, just a little short. Swivels in the boot tops, which go all the way around. And then hinges in the ankles, which go back very far, and unfortunately forward only a little bit. But that is an easy fix if you did want to adjust that a little bit so that it's got more range there. So overall, pretty outstanding articulation, especially for a Bandai figure. This is, like I said, very much built off of the model of the Thundercats figures in terms of how everything moves. The only real drawback that I see is that they cut out the rocker ankles, which I thought were some of the best rocker articulation that I've seen on 6 to 8 inch figure scale. So that was a bit of a bummer, but overall not bad. As far as swapping out the hands, it's as simple as just giving a nice little tug here, and I've kind of been bending it a little bit as I tug it because I am concerned a little bit about how stable that joint is in there, and I really, really don't want to break it. So I've been kind of, bending a little, and so it'll pop off a little quicker, a little easier. But very cool. You get some very nice articulation out of this guy that really works for the character. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it, which is just really awesome. I'm just thrilled to have this figure. I think it's really, really cool. There's probably flaws that I'm like seriously overlooking because I'm just excited to have like a big, nicely articulated Red Ranger. So in terms of scale, let's move him back a little bit. Let's get our boy Dutch in here, because he is, in fact, our boy. Let me get him right there. So you can see Dutch is a little bit taller, and we had already brought in US Agent over here, so let's get him back in the mix. And we'll pull back just a little bit so you guys can get a nice look. So Dutch is a little bit taller, and the Red Ranger is taller than the 6 inch figure by far, like by a lot. So very cool. It will not fit in with your 6 inch figures unless you just like huge, beefy teenagers hanging out with your superheroes. But, for their own scale works just fine. And could probably hang out with your 7 inch figures, as you can see here. If, same deal, you want your teenagers to look huge next to them. So maybe it's best to just forget about the teenager part for right now. Let's just not even worry about it, because then it gets a little ridiculous, like why is Bandai making these huge muscle-bound kids for kids to play with, and then it gets weird. So, yeah, very cool action figure. For $17, you get a ton of accessories. I mean, a figure of this caliber, easily worth, $15 in today's market as it is. But then when you get, these two by themselves would have made this, a $15, $16 figure. With all this extra armor stuff, which granted he didn't wear a lot, but they did include it, I see that easily bumping it up to $17, and it's still being a good deal. So, yeah, definitely a good buy. I highly recommend it. Like I said, I do think this figure is going to go fast, like very fast. So, if you see him, please do not hesitate. Snatch him up. If this is a little too muscular for your taste, you can always wait for the figure arts that are coming out in a few months. I'm not exactly sure the dates, but they've already got Tommy and Jason on mark for the U.S. in terms of figure arts figures. But if you do decide to get this line, I do suspect with all this that you're going to get a Tommy figure, a Green Ranger coming up, and the White Ranger has been shown in limited form in certain websites. So check that out if you want. If you have any questions about this guy, please ask them below. Anything that I covered a little too quickly, glossed over, let me know. I'd be glad to answer any questions. The gun does not transform, if anyone wants to know that. And that's it. Thank you guys for stopping by. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.